food just brings people together. If you think about food, like when you're entertaining at home, everybody always migrates to the kitchen, right? Same thing here at work. I think food is an important, obviously, it's to nourish yourself, but it's also a good place to be. I think a lot of our employees here love to go down at lunch and collaborate and talk story around our tables.
Hello and welcome to Office Libations Unwrapped. I'm your host, Claude Burns, and today I'm here with Marisa Pozas, the Micro Kitchens Operations Manager at Zoox. Hey Marissa, how are you doing today?
Doing well. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, great. So before we jump into who you are and what you do, we're going to do a little quick hit segment to get to know you a little bit better. So it's going to be quick, it's going to be fast, it's going to be fun. So let's start. Coffee or tea?
Tea all day.
Okay, do you have a favorite brand or sort of flavor?
Currently, it's green. It's Tatulia, and it's green tea in the morning and chai in the afternoons.
That's awesome. Okay. What's your go-to work snack or drink?
Well, this one is always a hard one because I feel like we live in the snack world.
Mm-hmm.
So we're constantly either tasting them. So it's just really hard to choose. But currently, it's safe to say I visit the micro kitchens daily and eat the vanilla cocoa June yogurt with a sprinkle of nuts on top.
Okay, yeah, we
That's
big
my
fans of
daily
Coco June.
go-to snack.
Yep. All right, you're retired. Money is no object. Where do you live?
I would like to build little casita houses in blue zone areas. So if you're familiar with blue zones, there's blue zones in about 5 different countries, and starting with Italy, Greece, and Costa Rica. I would build little homes in all those little areas. So then friends and family could go travel for holidays, vacation, and just kind of to reboot the souls.
I mean, those sound like pretty good locations. So I may take you up on that if you ever get there.
Of course. Of course.
What's the best meal you've had recently?
Best meal I've had is a butter basted ribeye steak. I don't eat too much meat,
Yeah,
but when I do, it has to be ribeye and it has to be butter basted. And just made that the other night with some friends, and it was delicious.
that sounds great. And how was the company?
Company was great.
That I think makes most meals, but
Yes,
I'm sure we'll
of
talk a little
course.
bit about that
And
with food later.
they never had a butter basted steak before, so I was able to teach them at the same time. So it was great.
Oh, that's so much fun. I love cooking,
Mm.
so we could probably talk for hours about that as well.
Of
What's the
course.
last book you've read?
Last book I'm currently reading is the last book of Law of Attraction that you'll ever need to read.
Okay.
I'm in midway.
So far, so good?
So far, so good. It's teaching me more of my manifestation skills and journaling, which I need to be better at.
Okay. Favorite historical figure, can be dead or alive?
So alive, I'm going to choose the Obamas, my favorite
Okay.
people.
That's awesome.
Obviously, he was a great president. I won't talk too much about that because I know it's a sensitive subject. But as far as his time in the office was excellent. I think we were all in a great space then. And then with Michelle Obama, she just is a great advocate for women. And I love how she is very transparent on her marriage, on how she raises her daughters, and just life in general. She's just an inspiration to me.
Okay. I think a lot of people would agree with you there. Let's learn a little bit more about you. What's your role at Zoox?
So my role is I oversee about 30 plus micro kitchens here. I work closely with a couple different vendors, and we source anywhere from 30 to 50 products that we strategically place in our micro kitchens across all of our sites.
Okay. And just to give an idea of scope, how many people are you kind of feeding on a daily basis?
Well, it varies from site to site. So here in Foster City, we're about 800 in two of our biggest campuses. And then, we have remote sites randomly placed in Seattle, San Diego, and they vary anywhere from 35 employees to 100.
Okay, that's awesome. And you take care of the Foster City locations primarily, or are you overseeing all of the other locations as well?
All of them. Yep. I work
Okay.
very close with our vendors and make sure they are managing them daily, stocking them daily.
Get
Mhm.
any trips down to San Diego?
Yes, actually, I do. I go a couple times a year. The good thing is my daughter goes to school down there, so it's kind of a win-win.
Oh, that's awesome. Where'd she
Mhm.
go to school?
San Diego State.
Okay, San Diego
Mhm.
State. Yep,
Mhm.
great school. I was stationed down in San Diego. Love it. It's a fantastic city.
Great
Um,
place.
so, what does Zoox do?
So basically, Zoox is an autonomous robot taxi company with the mission of making personal transportation safer, cleaner, and enjoyable for everyone. We have reimagined a vehicle that is focused on safety first and comfort. Um, if you think about it, we're not a car. We don't have steering wheel. We don't have gas or brake pedals. We are simply an autonomous vehicle built for the rider experience.
That's awesome. There's been a lot of fun stuff in that space recently, so
Yes,
it's got to be pretty exciting for you guys.
it's very exciting. I think everybody here is very excited. We'd love to see them on the roads. It's a nice place to be.
Have you ridden in one?
I have. I
Yeah.
actually ridden a couple different times,
Okay.
and it's life changing. I will say, every time I take a ride, I do try to sit in a different seat because we are a four passenger, so two people face each other. So there are times where you can face forward while driving or go backwards. And so I try to sit in different spaces just to get the full experience of all the things.
Yeah, kind of similar to that train where you can face the opposite direction that it's going. That's very, very cool. So a lot of employees, I'm sure, to take care of to make, that big and that, complex a project come to life. How does the culinary team, think about the food that they're providing and sort of the experience they're providing in terms of helping the team be more productive and drive that innovation?
So we like to keep things very creative here. So we offer very diverse menus. They are changed out daily. Menus are posted for employees to look at to see where they want to eat on a daily basis. We'll have different menus at different sites, but mainly it's keeping everything's fresh, everything's made in house. And so we just try to keep our menus as creative as possible and as exciting as possible to get our employees to come in.
Okay. And I think we haven't gone into sort of your background and sort of what you did
Mhm.
before, but this is something you've seen at different companies. So how do you think about your food program and how it drives sort of productivity and innovation, and the employee experience at Zoox?
Well, I think that our food team comes from all very diverse backgrounds. And so we take pride in offering very advanced culinary experience to our workplace and our employees. So we try to offer premium dining experiences for our employees to enjoy menus, fresh and customized menus daily.
That's awesome. And you got some really talented, chefs on the team. Can you talk about them a little bit?
We do. We've got a couple different chefs. They all come from very different backgrounds. Some come from tech, some come from Michelin stars. And I think what happens is they all come together and they kind of collaborate on all their different backgrounds and they bring it to Zooks.
That's awesome. You mentioned in our past sort of conversations that you guys have a big focus on sort of healthy snacks. Can you kind of go
Mhm.
into that a little bit more?
Yeah, that's across the board. So we pride ourselves on sourcing, like I said, local, healthy ingredients for that's in the cafe and in our micro kitchens. We try to, it's kind of like you are what you eat, right? So the healthier you eat, the more productive you are in a day. So we tend to stay along the lines of just healthier options, things that fuel the soul and will help employees not crash, but be more productive in their daily life here at Zoox.
Okay. What's sort of the most popular snacks in the micro kitchen?
So the most popular beverage is yerba mate. It's like
Yep.
gold around here. So we have a big following here that will never leave Zoox. It's a forever staple. And then, I would say protein shakes are next. Peanut butter pretzels are a, a favorite here. And then, mixed nuts. And then I do a quarterly refresh. So I'm constantly trying to expose new products, obviously live within the range of dietary restrictions. So there'll always be something gluten free or vegan or dairy free, just to kind of give exposure to the snacks, but also to kind of educate our employees of there's a lot of healthy, fun snacks out there for you to try.
Yeah, for sure. Those peanut butter pretzels may not fall high on the healthy list, but they are dangerous.
And
I
and
have to
not the
stay away
yerba
from them.
mates either.
Yeah, I
Yes,
just have to stay away from them.
they're
But
both very good.
that's a personal shortcoming. When you think about and this is where I'm going to take notes. When you think about
Okay.
like sourcing and doing those refreshes, like how do you decide like which brands to work with, which products to bring in?
So I think this comes from my event background, but I'm very like hands-on. And I know some companies, they just kind of trust their vendors to do whatever. But for me, I work closely with my vendors and, challenge them with finding trendy, fun snacks. I also like to go to different trade shows and kind of meet different vendors, kind of like touch, feel, read the ingredients on every product. But also it's like building relationships too. So I would say working close with my vendors, going to trade shows, and then, there's a couple other things I do, which is we do a Zoox market here. We've had a couple of them so far, and sometimes we'll bring in different companies to come in and basically showcase their products. If they're in our micro kitchens already, we will bring them out so they can talk to our employees and educate them about their products. Coffee is a big hit around here, so I will bring in, coffee vendors like twice a year to come in, and that way they can talk about their story, and then everybody knows about their coffee and how to make it and brew it. So it's kind of a win-win for everyone.
Okay. Do you guys look at like how much of your spend is going towards sort of diverse brands in sort of the markets?
Yeah, absolutely. So both of my vendors know to always incorporate, women owned, minority owned. I would say we're about 30 to 40% women owned, minority owned products in our micro kitchens. And we will always keep those in our
That's
micro
awesome.
kitchens.
That's
hmm
awesome. Do you guys do anything around like themes or different seasonality around the year?
So yes, we love themes. So one that we did in the past is Valentine's Day. So because we are on the healthier side of things, sometimes we do special treats. And on Valentine's Day, Lesser Evil, you're probably familiar with the popcorn, Lesser Evil. I saw that he did a little Valentine's Day bag to and from. And so sourced them to come in and sprinkle the Valentine's Day snacks across the board, even to our remote sites, because to me, it's very important to get our remote sites involved in all of the offerings we have. Um, Obviously, it's Pride Month. So today we just had a big Pride festival in our cafe and DJ, and that's very themed. If it was up to me, I would have had a Pride snack offered in our micro kitchens. They just couldn't source it in time, so we didn't.
Yeah.
But yes, we are very huge on themes here.
You've kind of worked in restaurants and sort of multiple different tech companies that have food. Why is food so important to companies?
I think food just brings people together. If you think about food, like when you're entertaining at home, everybody always migrates to the kitchen, right? Same thing here at work. I think food is an important, obviously, it's to nourish yourself, but it's also a good place to be. I think a lot of our employees here love to go down at lunch and collaborate and talk story around our tables. If you ever have a chance to come visit us, our cafes are extremely busy from 12 o'clock on. There's long lines, and it's just because people love to come and surround themselves with the people in, see, I'm losing my train of thought. So this is one of those moments. Or, treat themselves to the menu offerings. We have a very diverse menu. And so I think sometimes people just come and love to check out all of our food.
And so a lot of companies are kind of going the opposite direction, right? They're like
Mhm.
remote only, like maybe you see your coworkers, once a year in person. Why do you think other companies have kind of said, "Hey, we're gonna focus on bringing people together and providing experiences for them to, do on a daily basis, a lot of times around food, sometimes just around a party, right?" Why is that
Mhm.
important? Why do companies, or in your experience, think that that's important?
Well, I think it engages employees, right? I think food is a perk. I think it's important to have at companies. I also think after, COVID, things shifted. Some people, it was better to run certain companies in a remote environment and not have everybody come in for whatever reason. Our company, we like our people in house. We like them to come in. We like them to collaborate. We like them to be here. So we try to offer as many perks for them so they want to come into work and it's exciting for them. It's a tough question because it's very different from company to company on how they view food. I mean, I've been in food my whole life, so I think it's important. Some people, some companies just don't think it's important. They would rather save their money to do other things. So we try to do all the things. We try to host great events, offer great, breakfast, lunch, and dinner offerings, micro kitchen offerings, and then we also have a little small catering program as well.
Have you guys had like any sort of thing that came out of one of those like sort of random connections between people that you could share? Sort of like,
Meaning,
someone from, engineering was talking to someone from sales and they just didn't, they were on different pages and they're like, no, 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 this is why we're doing it this way. And this is why we're telling customers this thing.
no, I haven't had that experience because I just only kind of talk to the people who enjoy the food programs. My circle of friends all work in food, so and whether that's tech, restaurants, events. So yeah, I haven't had that experience.
Okay. And when you think about like um, I lost my train of thought now. So let me go back. See, it happens.
It
Um,
happens.
yeah, it's like I said, they'll just cut it all out and it doesn't matter at all.
It's perfect.
It's like it didn't never happened. It's a brain refresh.
Yes.
Um, where was I going with this? Food programs help other people engage. All right, here's where we're going. So
Okay,
you're
let's go.
talking to people who like really care about the food programs. Like, do you do surveys or other ways to sort of gauge like the level of, happiness around those programs or ways to improve the program?
So currently, we don't do any surveys with the food program,
Hmm.
but we do have an internal email that we encourage people. We love feedback. Feedback is a gift for us. So if people want to email us, we highly encourage them to give us their suggestions, comments, concerns. We also have the fun Slack channels of the world. And so those are very fun and exciting. Like today, it's blowing up because everybody's showing all the pride, you know, uh, the Pride event. The food was great. So we typically get our feedback from that. And then we keep a report of everything. And it usually determines like our offering. So, for example, my micro kitchens, I was told that I had too many coconut offerings. So I was like, I do. And so I had to look, and it was just two coconut offerings. But somebody's highly allergic to coconut. So I have to be mindful of that. And so next refresh, I'll just put something more lemony, so we won't do coconut. And so then I'll bring back coconut next summer. So we just try to take in everybody's feedback, and people will post on Slack like this is the best, pasta we've ever had. And, then the chefs will take notes of it and then they will recreate it in a different way.
What's and of course not this company, but what's the most kind of ridiculous request you've had?
Oh, geez. I mean, I don't even know. I feel like that I'm on the spot there. I might have to think about that one, but eh, because then I'm just oversharing secrets if I tell too many personal things. I might have to get back to you on that one. Let me think, because I mean, we get a lot of them. It's kind of like you put in a salad bar, and then people are like, "Oh, we don't want a salad bar. We want this," and it's like, well, you need to have everybody's taste, but it's like when you do something nice, then it's like it's never good enough, right? So we get a lot of that, and I just don't want to like pinpoint one thing because I want
Yeah,
to say one thing, but we get a lot of it.
yeah, it was probably, I don't know, 6, 7 years ago or something. We had a request for vegan beef jerky. and it sounded like I was like, that seems made up. That doesn't exist. Vegan and beef right next
Yeah.
to each other don't seem to make a ton of sense. But sure enough, there's a company out there that makes it, and so we brought it in. We've had other ones, but that's one that's seems outlandish, but we're actually able to do. So you definitely get some interesting,
Well, and
creative things that
I
people are
don't
looking
mind the
for.
outlandish.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's vegan or there's mushroom jerky. I think that's the new thing now, right? So another way I, kind of gauge interests with the snacks I choose is when I go to these snack fairs or I get all these samples, I have this like basket at my desk and I have the team come over and sample them. And so sometimes I'm like gung ho about a mushroom jerky or a gluten-free lemon bar that I think is really awesome. And everyone's like, Marissa, this is disgusting. And I'm like, no, it's actually really good. So I am the one to like all the kind of interesting, unique things, but it's kind of good that we'll take a poll around the team and, it's like, who likes this, who doesn't? And then that will kind of steer me in the direction of, okay, I guess maybe I am a little off because I like mushroom jerky. So we will never probably put mushroom jerky in micro kitchens.
Do you have like a snack tasting panel? Like, a group of like 10 people you bring together when you look at what snacks to bring in?
No, but what I
More
do
more
is like
informal.
I sit on the place. Yeah, I just leave it there for people to taste because everybody's different. And then sometimes it's too many chiefs, and then you get all their requests. How come you did this? Why don't you bring this back? And next thing you know, I'm just like writing a list for everybody's requests. But I'll take some samples and sprinkle them around to some other teams in the office and just share it with them and see if they like them. And they'll give me a thumbs up. And it's just nice to get different people's perspective on snacks.
I was going to say that panel
But
probably would be
I'm sure
pretty
one
popular to
day,
join.
yeah.
When and is that just kind of an informal process? You sort of sprinkle it around, don't really tell people try it, and then you kind of go back and say, hey, what do you guys think about the mushroom jerky?
So the vendors will come and they'll bring me a bunch of samples and I will look at all of them. And, there's ingredients and guidelines I have to follow. And then we'll kind of narrow them down. And then I'll either take them back to some people, and it just depends on the day because, everybody's so busy. So I will either sprinkle them around to some other teams or leave them at my desk to get some of the culinary team's feedback on them.
Okay. And we've been talking about some of the ad hoc things you do, but I know you do a lot of things very, very intentionally around creating those employee experiences. Can you kind of walk through kind of how you
Mhm.
think about maybe like a calendar year, or, sort of what, unit of frame do you use to sort of create those experiences, and sort of the tempo of how often do you want to have a party? Like how often do you want to do, change menus and refresh micro markets?
Yeah, so currently what I do is I do quarterly refreshes. I started those right when I came on, just to keep things interesting and innovative for our employees. The other thing we've incorporated are the Zoox Market. We will probably do those twice a year, and those will probably grow in different ways. We just haven't really fine-tuned those yet, but I do know the bases. Some of our micro kitchen offerings, we will have those in our markets. The other new thing that I'm doing this year is a snack fair. So this kind of goes back to your question of, survey and how do I pick certain snacks. So we'll do a snack fair where the employees will bring in probably 10 plus vendors, and the employees will get to vote, via QR code, and they can share which ones were their favorite. And then we'll take the data and we'll put those in our micro kitchens probably in Q4.
Okay, that's very cool. How do you like, find these like innovative brands and sort of innovative products that you want to sort of bring in that just aren't the normal stuff that everybody sees on the shelf at their local grocery store?
Yeah, for me, it's trade shows. So I try to get to two of them a year. What I've learned is there's a lot of East Coast products that
Mhm.
don't make their way over here. And so I'm always trying to help the smaller businesses. So are you familiar with, God, it just slipped my mind. It's the app Ruby, the Ruby drink.
You
Um,
you mentioned it our
to
last call, but no, I wasn't before.
So yeah, he's from the East Coast and he just started this ruby drink, but it was interesting because it was made with like hibiscus, but the Fuji apple flavor was just completely different and I'd never had it before. And then some of his other great flavors. They're very unique. I think that the Zoox crew would love it. So I just brought in the apple and everybody loved it. So for me, it's just getting out there and seeing where all these snacks are from. Because sometimes, the vendors just have the same old snacks. And I just like to take it one step further. And I'm like, no, I know there's something better out there. Or I know we can find something. So the new one for me is a prickly pear. Have you heard of him? He's
No.
cactus water.
Yeah,
Yep.
I know the flavor compound, but
hmm
not the
It's
brand.
cactus water. They're from Arizona and they're, made their way through California, but just a great story. These two guys out of college created it. So for me, I just have to get out there and see them because again, I'm just not the shopper online. I have to physically see it and feel it and get the full experience. So that's the main thing I do is source through my vendors or the trade shows.
And so I'm assuming like Expo West is probably one that you like to go to. What's the
hmm
other one? Is it Fancy Food? Okay.
Unify was in San Diego, or I went to Unify in San Diego and Vegas. And then I just came back from the Chicago National Restaurant Association. That was pretty big. It's more geared towards the cafe world, but there's still so much innovation there. Like there was robots there serving food and snacks and champagne, and all I could do is look at it. And I went. We all the food team went together as a team, and we all just looked at each other like, how can we bring this? Like, what can we do to bring these robots just to like have them deliver like a birthday snack to somebody? Like, it just our brains just started going just because we're in that industry, right? But we're like, okay, we have to throttle back. We'll just add it to our notes and we will keep this in our pocket.
I mean, a champagne serving
I
autonomous vehicle
mean,
sounds pretty good to me.
I mean, there's that
you,
too.
you need to take a tour up to wine country. Like, here you go. I'm
Right.
just saying,
Yep.
just saying.
hmm
Not that I would use it. I would definitely use it. Um,
I'm definitely.
that um, I really like working with like small brands as well. I think it's really fun to see like their product also evolve over times
hmm
from, you get the invoice number and it's a very, very low number. And then a couple years later, you see how much their business has grown and being able to give that
hmm
opportunity. Do you have outside those brands, do you have any like one client that you're like, I had them when they were, very, very small company and now they've grown and, done great things?
I would say Wild Wonder. When I came in, Wild Wonder was a hit here, and we had her in, I think, for a good couple years, and we went through all of her flavors. At one time, we carried all three, and then, we kind of went down to the most popular two, and then we went down to one, and then, I just felt like, okay, she's on the map now. You're seeing her everywhere. You're seeing her grocery stores. She's popping up on LinkedIn. She's thriving. So I was like, okay, we can slowly replace her and put somebody else in, who needs exposure. But I would say she's the one that stands out the most to me while being here at Zoox.
That's awesome. Um,
hmm
so I like to talk a lot about trends.
hmm
So people have an idea of like, how things are changing. What
hmm
changes are you seeing from, the food world and tech maybe like 10 years ago to today?
Healthier options. It's happening across the board. I mean, I think, yeah, the bigger tech companies do the sugars and the sodas, but I think they're slowly pulling away from that because I think people are asking for more healthier options. So I think we're in front of that already. And, we try not to deprive our people of snacks and sugar. We do offer a Friday treat at 3 o'clock on Fridays to get people excited about this unique dessert that they're going to get on Friday. Or, I will sprinkle in, do a pop up where there's some sugar. But I just think the trend right now is just healthier options. Like everything that our vendors are bringing to us, they're just unique. Everybody's starting to, like the gluten free cookies. I think 2 years ago, they were just not very good. And I think people are nailing them now. They're really good. There's a lot of gluten free products out there that are delicious, and some people just don't know it. But I would say healthier options because when I talk to my friends who work in other tech companies, they're like, the way of the world is we got to start bringing in these healthier options because the Reese's and the Kit Kats aren't going off the shelves anymore.
Yeah, that's definitely a trend we're seeing as well.
hmm
And I think it's great because there's so many new brands that have really focused on being healthy. And,
Hmm.
from like the probiotic soda wars that are trying to replace the big,
Yeah.
Cokes and Pepsis, right?
Yep.
Healthier sort of still fits in that sort of category and sort of like, I kind of call it like a, drinking experience, right? It's like I
Hmm.
want something that's sort of slightly sweet, that's gonna fill like when I would drink a soda, and now you have something that's healthy that fills that gap. And I think,
Hmm.
if you look at their sales numbers, that it seems like a lot of other people agree with
Yeah, and their
what they're
flavors are
doing.
good
Oh yeah,
too. So sometimes when you see like cherry soda, you're like, what? Cherry soda prebiotic drink? And then you taste it, you're like, this is actually cherry soda. Or
yep,
like the grape.
yep.
It's
Hmm.
like grape, reminds me of being a kid again. So they're doing really well with the flavor profiles, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. We've talked a lot about how, food creates culture. Like, what are some of the ways you
Mhm.
use your employees to help determine like what experiences you want to deliver with your food programs?
Okay. So we work really close with our affinity groups. Um, they have multiple theme events throughout the year. And so, like I mentioned, we just did Pride Month breakfast today with them, and we had this great party event inside of our cafe. Then we also, they will request if we can do a big Diwali menu or a Cinco de Mayo menu. And so we will put those together and sprinkle those different cultures throughout our cafe experiences across all remote sites.
That's very cool. And like, what is there any like food ERG where it's just really food people?
You mean like, do we have a foodies team
Yeah,
or?
yeah, yeah.
Well, we do. We do have a special Slack channel for people who, cook from home or appreciate what they do. And so they will post. And so that tends to be a very popular Slack channel where people will talk about the food or they'll compliment the chefs on what they've cooked. We have several Slack channels and they're all very different for different reasons. But, if we do a nice menu here and the Bayside meals will, there'll be a lot of compliments on that. Or cooking from home, people will say, hey, I perfected, one of the chef's menus at home. And so that I would say is like our foodie network.
Do your chefs ever participate in the channels to be like, here's how you butter braise
Um,
this
well, no, but what they will do is
ribeye?
they will send emails, how did you make this clam chowder? Or this was the best, dressing. And so what we'll do is they'll ask for the recipe and we will give it to them.
That's awesome. Yeah, I
Yep.
imagine that's for me, that would be a great perk. Like, what's a chef think I should do when I'm making this, or how did they do this? And then you can kind of
Yeah.
incorporate it in what you do. And I think that's one of the values of learning from other people and being around people is
Hmm.
you learn, stuff you didn't know and you didn't even really know how to ask.
Right.
But
And our
once you see
chefs
it
are really
done,
engaging. They welcome the engagement with the employees. They like to talk to them. They like to give them special treatment, and then they love all the feedback. And so if somebody challenges them to do something, they will do it.
that's it. That has got to be a lot of fun. I imagine some
Hmm.
people probably abuse that a little bit. Be like, make this for me.
Hmm. Not that I've seen yet, but yes,
You kn
I'm sure it's
Yeah,
out
maybe you
there.
haven't heard about it.
Hmm.
But I wanna thank you so much, for joining us today, Marissa, and sharing your experience, across multiple companies and at Zoox in particular about how you use food to create great employee experiences. If people wanted to follow up with you or connect with you, what's the best way to do that?
People can follow me on LinkedIn. And if anybody wants to know more about Zoox, we are all on every platform,
That's
the
awesome.
Instagrams
The
and LinkedIn,
the Instagrams, the LinkedIns, the
the
websites,
Twitters, all
the
the
Twitters or
above. Yes.
X's or whatever it is now. But really appreciate your time today, and I will probably take you up on coming to see one of those cafes.
Yeah. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. And maybe we can one day do a sequel of what it tastes like. What does coffee and tea taste like in a robot taxi?
I Yep,
Because we'd love to have you come for a ride. We'll
I'm
get you
down
out
for the
here
ride
soon
too.
enough. Okay. Well, we'll
Yep,
we'll make that happen.
perfect. Thanks again, Marissa. Thank you for joining Marissa and I today on Office Libations Unwrapped. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast for future episodes filled with inspiration, ideas, and strategies to optimize your workplace culture. And remember, happy employees make happy customers. Until next time, I'm your host, Claude Burns.